Hey friends, thanks so much for tuning in. I have a conversation ready for you here that I think you're really going to benefit from. I think it's an important conversation, and it's someone we have never spoken with before. He's a 35 plus year engineer in the alternative energy and solar space, and he wants to speak publicly now about some things that are really troubling him. And we're going to give him a pseudonym in this interview. We're going to call him Jay Power. And the reason for that is because he's reluctant to come forward with his real name. He doesn't want the notoriety, and he does not want this to be misconstrued as an opportunity for his company to get more business. They already have more business than they can deal with. There's a 6-month waiting list for their products. I happen to have one of their products. He's a good guy, a God-fearing man, and he's here to share some truth with us. And Jay, are you there?
I'm here.
Well, thanks for joining us. Just to set the stage for people, you and I have corresponded several times over the past months via email. You left me a voicemail the other day, and you said you were startled largely based on a phone call that you received from somebody fairly noteworthy. Jay, tell us a little bit about that, will you please? And then let's talk about what people need to do to prepare for this collapse.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. This is a person who's on television every morning, and I don't want to say too much more than that, but they were kind of in a panic state, and they wanted to buy pretty much everything that we had in our store, and I told him he couldn't do that, and he got very upset and actually hung up on me. About 20 minutes later, he called me back and apologized, and he placed a huge order. Wanted to know if he could send a truck to pick it up. And I said, no, you can't do that. It's not even built yet. There's at least a 2-week waiting list on stuff that we have in stock. And then the other stuff, of course, has about a 6-month waiting list. So he went ahead and placed the order, and it was actually kind of shocking because just the tone of his voice and the urgency. And so I decided that I would like to contact you and maybe try to tell people what I know that's going on, and that's how we decided to do this interview.
Right. Well, the interesting thing too about your voice message is that this person is, I believe, unless I'm misconstruing this, correct me if I'm wrong, he's in the financial industry. He's very near the heart of the evil empire there in New York City with Wall Street. And I think one of the things that concerned you was this person's tie to that industry, and the fact that if this person is upset and getting these types of supplies, the type of supplies you'd want in a collapse where maybe the power would go out for a period of time, if this is the type of person who's calling you in something of a panic, maybe that in itself is noteworthy news. Am I characterizing that correctly?
I would say so, yes, sir. There's a big disconnect between what the financial elite are telling us and what's actually going on in the background, Sean. They're telling us that the economy is on the mend and everything is fine, but in private they're in a panic mode. They're buying everything that they can get their hands on that's survival related, and of course they don't want anybody to know that. But the people need to know that something awful is coming, and the rich people, the wealthy people who can afford to get ready for it, are the ones that are going to be okay, unless the other people, the average people, wake up and realize that it's time to get ready for something. We're running out of time. This is something that I'm convinced can't be avoided any longer. The United States is like a beautiful skyscraper that was intentionally set on fire, and it's doomed. But there's still time to run inside and pillage some of the valuables before the building collapses, and that's exactly what they're doing. There's no way that this country is not going to hit the wall. The very wealthy, elite people know that, and I think that they're just, robbing and stealing everything they can get their hands on before the building collapses, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a powerful metaphor, and I think you're spot on. We know that $8.1 trillion is missing from the Pentagon. That's by their own admission. Over $8 trillion. There is a looting that has been in progress here. going on ever since 9/11. Heck, we know the day before 9/11, on September 10th, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld came out publicly and spoke about the $2.3 trillion the Pentagon couldn't account for at that time. Now they're publicly admitting it's over $8 trillion. My God, Jay, I mean, if you take a look at the reality of this situation, is that there is a looting going on. There's a looting in progress. We're being looted by offshore international banks that don't give a damn about the American people. And when this Ponzi collapses, when the house of cards finally comes down, there will be millions, tens of millions of people in this country hurt, and potentially, if it gets as bad as we're seeing in Venezuela, and if it gets as bad as we've seen in Zimbabwe, you're talking about the deaths, potentially, of millions of people. Jay, what happens if the power went out for an extended period of time? You know, me being in a cold climate in the Midwest, I know if we didn't have power for a month in January, we'd be in a lot of trouble here. So what happens when the power goes out, and how do people help protect themselves from a situation like that?
Well, I tell people there's 4 things that you must do. You simply do not have much more time. Number 1 is you have to have food and water for your family. And by the way, these are the primary things that the power elite focus on. Okay, number 1, you must have food and water for your family. Number 2, you have to have something that's going to make at least a modest amount of electricity so you can keep your cell phones charged and your laptops charged so you know what's going on in the outside world. Number 3, you must find a way to keep your family warm. That's probably the most important one right there. And number 4, you have to be ready to protect your family at all costs. And if that means owning a firearm, and that may upset some people, but your family is the number 1 responsibility you have, and you have to do whatever it takes to protect your family. So those 4 things right there are something that you need to do right away, because that's what these people are doing. I talk to them every day. I deal with them every day, and I can tell you right now, that is their primary focus right there.
Again, Jay, the pseudonym that we're giving this 35-plus year engineer who works for this alternative energy supplies company, contacted me, and he does not want to go public with the name of the company because they don't need any more business, and even if they had it, they couldn't fill the orders in a timely manner. So I just want to make that really clear. Jay, is there anything else you want to share with the audience as it pertains to prep, as it pertains to the coming collapse, as it pertains to the phone calls you're getting from people who are clearly very worried about what may be coming?
Well, I just want to tell your listeners, Sean, that these bunkers and safe houses are dotted all over the United States. This has been an ongoing project of theirs for years, and they're never very far from a safe house that has food, water, electricity, and everything else they need. So I would do exactly what they've been doing, and I would prepare your family, because something awful is coming. I don't want to sound too dramatic or scare people, but it's in my mind, based on what I know here and the people I talk to, it's imminent. Something imminent is coming, and I just want to make sure that I was able to convey that to the American people, that this is what the elite people are doing, and you should be doing it too.
Now, when you say imminent, I just want to couch that with a caveat, and the caveat is this. We've talked about a collapse coming as we document the collapse for a very long time, and the word imminent occasionally gets used as it pertains to the economic collapse, because when you look at the facts, when you look at the absolute paper Ponzi of the markets, when you look at the fact that tens of millions of trades on a daily basis go unsettled, when you look at China collapsing, when you look at what's going on just internationally and globally with Greece, just the debt Ponzi bubble in general, the word imminent is often used because it does appear that an economic collapse is imminent. It could happen in September. The 7-year cycle, the Shemitah, all of these things that we've covered. Imminent is a great word. Now, with that said, many of us suffer from normalcy bias, as you well know, Jay. And normalcy bias prevents us from preparing. Normalcy bias, because when you go downstairs and turn on the TV in the morning, it comes on. When you turn on a light, it powers up. When you go to your computer, you have internet access. In this country, our friends, neighbors, and colleagues suffer greatly from normalcy bias, and they cannot imagine a collapse that would actually cripple their way of life. So when you say imminent, can we just couch that with just the broader view, which is we know a collapse is coming, and even if it doesn't come in September, and pray God that it doesn't, Jay, because this is going to be a nightmare. So when we talk about a collapse and we say imminent, can we just couch that in the broader view, which is that even if it's not imminent, even if it's not in the next 2 weeks, even if it's not in September, take heed and thank God that it didn't happen, because prepping at this point should be your number one priority?
Exactly. And if it doesn't happen, it's only by the grace of God, because this is something that was put in motion many years ago. And the corporations, not just the government, but the corporations have had a slow, methodical preparation towards this. This has been a goal. And so I'm being told that when all of their preparation is finished and they feel secure and they're all protected, that's when, they will pull the plug, so to speak. And I'm being told that it will come in all types of different ways. One is a stock market, not a crash, but actually where the markets go into a permanent circuit breaker. That's one way I'm being told. Also, I'm being told that it will be a grid down event where people, have to fend for themselves, and the cities, basically revert into chaos. And so, I'm not sure what form it will take, but it appears at this point, based on the people I talk to and the people that buy our products, that it is coming.
Well, let's flush that out just a little bit, because when you say I'm being told, you are implying that you have sources that I don't have. So this information is coming to us third party through you. Can you give us an example, and maybe you can't give us a specific name, but give us an example of the types of people who are sharing this information with you?
These are people in the government. These are professional athletes, financial people. These are people who have wanted to ask me if we could possibly work with them after an awful event like this. So that's why I know exactly what I'm talking about. These are people who offer to employ me after some type of chaotic event. I guess that's the best way I can explain it to you. I don't want to be too specific, but the United States is not going to cease to exist, but there is going to be a very hard reset, and there's going to be a rebuilding period. And during that rebuilding period, we're going to need a lot of good people who can put this country back on the tracks. And so I'm not the only one. There's scientists, there's doctors, there's all kinds of people who have been persuaded to get on board and to try to, put the country back on track after the collapse comes. I know that might sound a little crazy, but these people, they'll actually approach you and ask you if you can help them do so.
I think that it's important, Jay, to have these conversations, because it's important to think about worst-case scenarios, and it's not a matter of fear-mongering. It's not a matter of wanting to be depressed, certainly. I've long said that I have to compartmentalize many of these things in my own life just to be able to function in society and to raise a family, because so many of our friends, neighbors, and colleagues are absolutely sound asleep. This is a clarion call for those who are awake. This conversation is not for those who are sleeping, because they'll just ignore it. This is for those of you who are awake. And I guess if you take the totality of the information, the reality of the anti-Mockingbird mainstream media news, the stuff that we share at SGT Report, and the real news that you can find at other alternative news media sites out there, Jay, the totality of the information includes a potential population collapse, according to Deagle.com, by 2025, in which we see the population of the United States plummet by their estimates all the way down to potentially 60 million people. And we could see that type of thing happen in a collapse. I know it's hard for people to imagine that. And again, we truly, truly, truly are trying to just get people to understand that the hour is late, and when the collapse comes, it could be far worse than any of us ever wanted to see. And take a look at what's going on in California, Jay. They're getting hit by Agenda 21 policies, which are UN depopulation policies. They're getting hit by engineered drought. They're getting hit by HARP. They're getting hit by the water's literally being turned off in some communities. Lake Mead, there by the Hoover Dam, is at an all-time record low level, and Lake Mead is the source that supplies so many of those western communities with water. We are getting hit from multiple vector points. And if California goes, because of the drought, because of this earthquake, this nightmarish earthquake and tsunami they're predicting out on the West Coast, which the Mockingbird mainstream media is reporting will hit, I believe, Oregon, or was it Washington State? We're getting hit from all possible vector points. And if California goes, so does the food production for a large portion of our country. And our just-in-time food delivery systems, these 2 and 3 day food supplies that we see in the grocery stores, when those go, if you want to know what collapse looks like, take a look at what's going on in Venezuela right now, folks. Right now. If you want to learn the lesson of what could happen here, take a look at what's going on in Greece. Jay, your comment on that, and could you please tell people how they can prep? What types of things can people do to provide for their energy needs if the grid does go down?
Well, what I tell people is you have to approach it like your home is your nest. And when I say that, I mean you want to make preparations so you don't have to leave your house as long as possible. If you go out in the chaos to try to get food for your family, you're going to get hurt or killed. And your family doesn't need that. So try to focus on what you can do to stay in your home as long as possible until some of the chaos calms down. And then that way you'll probably be okay. But you've got to have, like I said, the 4 essential things: food and water, a form of electricity, a way to keep your family warm, and you've got to be able to protect your family. So if you can look at it like that's your little fortress, and you need to stay put as long as possible while all the chaos is occurring, I think that's the best way I can explain it. We all would love to be able to do all kinds of more things that we can't afford to get our family ready, but those are the basic things you can do to give your family a chance in case something awful happens.
Okay. Very good. Well, I know that you're not going to share the website or the information about your own company. And again, that's for a variety of reasons. Number one on the list is the fact that you didn't do this interview because you want notoriety and you wanted to remain, somewhat anonymous here. You do have a distinctive voice, so some people in your industry might be able to identify you. But for the purposes of just thanking you, is there any websites that you'd recommend? Is there any other steps you'd recommend people take? Anything you want to share with us as we wrap this up?
I would just say, Sean, that the hour is getting late, as you pointed out, and I would take my cue from what the rich people are doing, the powerful people. They are secretly getting ready. They don't want you to know that. They don't want to cause a run on the grocery stores and everything like that. But I'm here to tell you that it is occurring, and it appears to be occurring at a feverish pace. So I would just try to get your family ready for some type of event that you can't control, but you can give your family a chance in case something happens, and that's pretty much about it.
All right. Well, Jay, thank you so much, and I hope that you'll come back on again if you get any more, breaking information, any more urgent phone calls from famous people, anything like that. I mean, we would like to share that with the audience. I think this is the type of conversation that just helps people remember that all of this stuff we talk about on a daily basis at SGT Report and in the interviews that we conduct, it's real. I mean, it's really happening. And again, it's our own normalcy bias that sometimes clouds our judgment and makes us think, well, it's not really going to happen.
No, it's really happening, and people need to know about it. Yeah. This is not a joke, and it is reality, and people need to understand that we are headed for a disaster. And I don't want to scare people, or I just want to make people who might be asleep, wake up. This is real, and the people who are the insiders and the wealthy people know about it, and they're preparing for it. So when they are all ready and they're secure, and they feel like they can, ride the storm out, so to speak, that's when they're going to pull the plug. And this is not something that happens overnight. This is a slow process, but it is going to be a reset, and the wealthy people and the insiders will be ready for it, and they'll come out on the other side okay. And so that's what I would like to convey to the American people as much as possible, that you need to do the same thing. If you want your family to come out on the other side of this okay, then you need to wake up and realize that, we're almost out of tracks. The United States is a big train barreling down, a hill, and we're almost out of track.
Amen. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on. We very much appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And guys, thanks so much for taking the time to click play. I hope you'll share this information with your friends, your family, those that you love. We wish you only the best, and we really truly don't wish this collapse on anybody. I know there have been pundits that have been wishing for the collapse because it'll usher out the evil people in control of our government and give us an opportunity to start anew. I hope that's what happens, but regardless, we need to be prepared because when the collapse comes, it's going to be very, very painful. God bless, and I hope you have a terrific week. Bye-bye.